yes, if you're reading this as a Florida State fan, we got our butts kicked, regardless of what the score was this weekend, which was 28-22. We played a really bad game, and Miami came to play at our house. But it's neither here nor there, because I've been telling y'all about Miami and how excited I was, that Carson Beck actually didn't take his steps to the NFL. Kind of wanted to clean up his act from, again, we broke down the film and we watched Carson Beck at Georgia last year, and I told you guys, man, the drops that happened at Miami or at Georgia last year, and the amount of times that games were blamed on him for playing bad, when really that offense had more of the blame than Carson Beck throwing the football. And it's kind of like how I defended Cade Klubnik the year before last year when he had the amazing year. It feels like this year's Cade Klubnik for me is Carson Beck. But we're going to get into Carson Beck actually here a little later on how I really feel about him. But as the team as a whole, man, they should be the number one team in the country. I'm tired of the foolishness. The AP poll wasn't as bad this week as what I thought in previous weeks. But the fact that Miami's not the number one ranked team for what they've done so far this season is absolutely blasphemous. That'd be not only a top 10 team, but two top 20 teams, and pretty much swept the state of Florida, which has to be accounted for. They played 4 Florida teams back to back and beat them all. Then played Notre Dame week 1. Notre Dame week 1, home game, opening game, had a lot of implications, right? But Notre Dame won the game 27-24. Then they go to Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman comes in there and beat them 45-3. USF had all the hype in the world. They were ranked number 18, I believe, at the time. 49-12, beat them. Florida, we've seen what type of Florida team that we're getting right now. They either can beat a team or they're going to lose against a team. It's been the most wild thing to watch the Florida Gators this year, but either way it goes, you're dealing with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Florida. 26-7. Florida State, by all accounts, like I said, with the score being as it was at 28-22, did not tell the whole tale of that full game. They got their ass kicked by Miami, and Carson Beck was just doing whatever he wanted to against us. Here's my thing. Ohio State shouldn't get a pass for playing Texas, who's unranked right now, but they shouldn't get a pass for playing Texas. And I think for right now, that's what is happening with these rankings, is that because they've overranked these teams so high at the beginning of the season, and the fact that Ohio State is taking care of business, they haven't played a ranked opponent since. How are we not going to award a team that's played their ranked opponents? They swept the state of Florida, and they are the champions right now of, I think, of college football as of this moment. I'm not saying that they're going to be this fantastic team from here on out all the time as we continue this season, but the fact of the matter is they are the number one team. Like, look, Ruben Bain is up there, and I think that the discussion needs to be had. We need to sit back and talk about how Ruben Bain is up there with Caleb Downs as far as the best defensive players in the country. I don't think it's as wide as it was before at the beginning of the season, now that Ruben Bain's been playing out of his freaking mind. There's, in regards to the defensive players in college football, these are the two best ones. And Ruben Bain battling some injuries and things like that, it's good to see him up and getting after the quarterback and making teams pay. Like, I think he's a better prospect than probably Abdul Carter at this point than he was last year, because of the inability of tackling that Abdul Carter has had. Ruben Bain does so many different things for the defense that I think he's just a more valuable player. But that's just how I feel about edge rushers and stuff. So, I think you should be able to play two ways. Like, to me, I like the TJ Watts and, the Myles Garretts of the world, because they're able to tackle really, really well in the run game. I want my edge rusher to be able to do that regardless of whatever scheme. We talked about Carson Beck. He's been amazing, man. That dude's been dropping dots all over the field. And when that team is starting to trust him, they're really good. Malachi Toney is a weapon to be feared. Came out of nowhere, right? And I understand that they have, CJ Daniels over there as well. And he's been playing really, really well for them. But Malachi Tony has been the constant weapon that he's a walking first down. I know we talk about a lot of the receivers in the country like Jordan Tyson and Malachi Lemon, or Micaiah Lemon and those guys. But when are we going to actually start inserting Malachi Tony into the conversation as some of the best receivers in the country? And we can't get past his offense without talking about Mark Fletcher and how good he's been. The stats might not scream I'm one of the best running backs in the country, but if you watch their game, they are a rough and tough running team. Whenever he gets the ball, whenever any of those receivers, Sharmar Brown that came over from North Dakota State as well, like he's starting to make his emergence, even though the yards per carry, I believe, is under 4 right now, but they run the ball hard, man. They get those hard first downs, and they need to be feared. I think they're the true number one team in the country. I do think that AP poll, it's time to slide Ohio State out of there. We can't continue to give a team, because of their schedule, it's not their fault, but you can't tell a team that beat pretty much every single team in the state of Florida, two of their most hated rivals, and Notre Dame, all in the same year, and the first 5 games, and USF that was rolling. You can't continue to give these other teams passes over them when they've played a gauntlet this far. They've played teams that should have upset them. Not only you go and you play Notre Dame, who just came off a national championship. You go and beat USF, who had all the hype in the world. You play a Florida team that we just don't know what Florida team that you're going to get week to week. And you play Florida State that had all the hype in the world, where we were supposed to beat you at our house, and we didn't. Just like I told everybody, this team is for real, man. This team is for real. And it's almost the making of, if they can stay healthy the rest of the year, and they've got past, pretty much a gauntlet right now, who says that they can't be one of the best teams in the country, right? So with all that being said, great offensive line. You know how those guys, Malagoa and those guys are just going crazy right now. And their defense it's looking like old school Hurricanes, should I say. We're going to see how this thing pans out, man. We're going to see. But let me go ahead and get over to these comments. But I think Notre Dame should be ranked number 1 for sure. Before we actually get into the comments, let's talk about Mario Cristobal just for a little bit. Man, it took him a long time to get these fans rallied with him, right? And we saw that start to get turned around a couple years ago, and then a couple guys leave, like Rhett Lashley and the guys, and then it starts looking kind of, the waters are getting a little muddied out there, and he was able to get it back together by pulling Cam Ward out there, and then they possibly should have been in the ACC championship if we're all being honest here. And I said it once, and I say it again, man. I think I was the only one out of all these podcasts, out of all these people talking about college football, that said that Carson Beck could bring them not only their first ACC championship, but start breaking Cam Ward's records, which he has broken one, I believe, and get them vaulted into a position where they're going to go to a college football playoff. And then the talks about Mario Cristobal immediately in 1 year get turned around just like that.